Aloha! Hi, UNCG Spartans. Welcome to our virtual painting event hosted by Lightning Events. My name is Alex. I'm going to be your paint instructor today, and I'm really excited to paint with you. So before we get started, you'll need just a few things. You'll need your paints, of course. Make sure you have your paint set ready to go. You'll need something to put your paints on. I'm just using a paper plate today. You'll need a glass of water to rinse out your brushes when we change colors. You'll need a paper towel to dry off those brushes. And you'll need your paintbrush set and, of course, our canvas. So today we're going to be doing a beach themed painting. And I really enjoyed coming up with this for all of you. And I just hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our white paint and we're going to put some white paint down on our canvas, or not on our canvas, on our palette. Let's get out some white, and then let's get out our golden brown color. And let's get out our turquoise as well. All right. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my kind of medium brush here, and we're going to block out some areas of color. So I'm going to take my kind of nice sandy brown color, and I'm going to paint kind of a diagonal line with many zigzags, right? It's an uneven line. Kind of starting near the bottom of my canvas and working its way upwards. And this is just showing where our line of sand is going to be. All right, very nice. So I want to build up some different layers of color here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a swipe of my white paint and a swipe of my tan color, and I'm going to kind of brush them both on to my canvas. And to start, just to get this base color, I'm going to start with just very loose, painterly brush strokes. So I'm going to pick up some more of that tan, some more of that white, just really loose. Painterly. This is just for our base so that it doesn't look flat and all kind of the same tone. I'm just going to go and kind of fill in this area. I'm picking more paint back up on my brush as needed. Making sure again to get some variation in the color that I'm putting up here. I always find painting to be very relaxing. Just as relaxing as a day at the beach. All right. So when I'm happy with the textures that I've built up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set down my paintbrush momentarily. I'm going to get out some of our yellow paint, our bright yellow. I'm going to put some of that bright yellow onto our palette. And I'm going to pick up our sponge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make this a sandier texture a little bit. So I'm going to take our sponge I'm going to pick up some of that yellow paint with our sponge. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to dab lightly with this yellow. And I'm trying to get a good variation of tones and textures and colors. But I really want to make that sand look warm. You'll notice that sponge should give you a nice texture for sand. Very nice. And you don't have to apply this evenly everywhere. You can decide that one spot can be kind of a highlight if you like. Make it a little brighter in one area. All right, so we're gonna set our sponges down. And then we're gonna pick up our brown color, which is a little darker than the brown shade we were using before. I'm gonna set some brown out on my palette. I'm going to pick it up with my sponge, and then I'm going to come up near the edges of my painting, and I'm going to use that sponge to again build up that texture and add in some darker value. And if you find that you're getting too many straight lines from just using like the corner of the sponge, you can turn your sponge as you are kind of blotting it to get more difference in your sponge pattern. I'm going to add some over here into the yellow area. I'm going to add just a few ones in the middle here. I don't want to over blend it because I don't want it all to look the same. I do want to get that sandy texture. Nice. We've made sand. All right. So put that sponge someplace where you're not going to get paint on everything. And we're going to continue on. So let's wash our kind of medium brush here. Rinse it out in the water. Make sure you rub it up against the edge of your cup. A nice thorough clean. Get that paper towel. Dry our brushes off. All right. So next, we're going to come up and we're going to start to do the waterway. Now we're going to leave some area here white because we're going to add in the waves kind of after that. So we're going to start with some white, which we already have on our palette. If you need more, feel free to go ahead and pick up some more. I'm going to start by just adding a nice layer of white to my canvas up in the top corner. And then what I'm going to do is, without washing my brush, I'm going to pick up that turquoise color. And I'm going to go in a very streaky way. And I'm going to add some blue. So we start building up our waves here. And you really want to get some variation in your Again, if you blend it too much, you're just going to end up with one shade. And we really want our waves, we want to capture the motion. And if you want to really build up your paint to make it nice and thick in some areas, kind of build up that texture, that is just fine as well. All right, so we have some nice light blue, but I want to get a little bit more depth to our color here. So I'm going to grab my bright blue. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of bright blue. I'm going to take a little swipe of my bright blue, and I'm going to add in almost like some shadows to these waves. Just going to pick out areas where it's a little darker. Again, just kind of blending out and adding more value to our painting. Nice. All right, I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to swirl it up a little bit, kind of near this white margin that we're leaving. Perfect. I want something to be able to blend those waves or paint those waves kind of on top of in some areas. All right, so I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to drop it into the water. I'll give it a good rinse now before I move on. Next, we're going to be taking a smaller detail brush, a finer detail brush. Dry this off so it'll be ready for my next use. All right, so we're going to switch this out momentarily. We're going to take kind of a smaller detail brush here. And we're going to pick up some black. Now you won't need very much black for this. You can go ahead and put some black onto your palette. Take our finer detail brush here. And what we're going to do is in a very wiggly kind of loose way, what we're doing is we're painting in kind of a shadow. I'm just kind of wiggling my brush back and forth as I'm going. I'm just painting a layer kind of across my beachy area. This is going to build up where my shadow is. Maybe I want to pull it in more dramatically. In, up. Now the wonderful thing is that we're using acrylic paint today. So if you make a mistake with acrylic paint or you don't like how something turned out, you have the wonderful option of letting it dry and then just painting over it. All right, so we have a nice wiggly line here that's going to turn into a shadow. We're going to let that dry up a little bit because if we go right in with our white, it'll mix up and make a gray, which we don't necessarily want. Go ahead and give your paintbrushes a rinse. And then we're going to switch it on out. Go ahead and dry off your brush. All right, now let's go ahead and add a starfish into our painting. So for our starfish, we're going to get a few different colors out here. All right, so let's start with our orange. So we're going to get some orange on our palette. Making a mess. We're going to get some bright red as well. We're going to get a little bit of purple. And we should already have some yellow on our palette, but if you are out with yellow, you can, of course, get some more of that. All right, so I'm going to take this smaller detail brush that we just washed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's start with our red. I'm going to start with my red, pick up my red onto my smaller detail brush, and I'm going to draw with my paintbrush, just kind of a line that goes up, making the legs for my starfish. Come below that, 2 lines down, kind of like if I was making a peace sign. Turn this into more of a star. All right, so we have our 5-legged starfish here, or the very beginnings of one. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our starfish and we're just going to fill it out a little bit. So we're going to widen up those legs. Maybe nice and thin at the ends. Nice, until we have the base of our starfish. Wonderful. All right, so let's get a little fun and funky with our starfish. I'm going to just dry off, but not completely clean my paintbrush at this point. I'm going to pick up some orange. We're going to add some details in our starfish here. So I'm going to go ahead and start and make a dot right in the center. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and away from that dot, kind of pulling through the center of each leg. Just adding some details. Give it its own little starfish moment here. Very nice. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry up a tiny bit and we're gonna come back up to our waves. So let's go ahead and give our paintbrushes a little bit of a rinse. We're gonna keep it with a smaller detail brush here. Give it a good rinse, wipe it off. It's ready to take on our new color. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back and pick up some of that golden brown color. And we're just going to add that into our waves in some areas. So right around, if you have any dark areas you want to highlight or emphasis, or any kind of light areas, we're going to go in with that sandy color. Just a little bit. And just add a few little peaks of it. So it's like you can still see the sand underneath the water in just a few little areas. And you can be strategic about this if you want, or if you just want to add in some little sandy colored pieces for fun, you can do that, of course, as well. I'm just kind of blending mine into the blue by just taking that dry brush and kind of going over, kind of spreading my paint out a little further and going where the paint is still a little wet, the blue paint is still a little wet. So again, I'm really just trying to emphasize the movement of this water. Maybe make some areas a little longer, some a little shorter. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to really build up our waves, our kind of moving white water. So to do that, I'm going to switch back to the kind of medium, slightly larger brush here. And we really want to give this black outline as much of a chance to dry as possible before we get near it. So what we're going to do is we're going to really add to some of the excitement of our waves in our water that we're building up here. So you can go ahead and pick up your white paint and decide where, so all of this is going to be a crashing wave, but we should have a few near that. So really load your brushes up with heavy paint. And I'm just kind of dabbing at the painting here to really build up that texture, get the excitement of the waves. Maybe you have just kind of a few splashes going on here, one of them. Really just trying to add to the draw. Adding in a few waves, adding in a few little sprays splashing off. Really load up those paint brushes. Really get that interesting texture. Just have fun with it, you know? All right. So then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring it a little closer to the black. When you get close to the black, you want to make sure that you're not swirling it around with the black, because again, that'll mix it, that'll give it gray, which you don't necessarily want there. But we're just going to really load up our paintbrushes with the white, and we're going to build up this area to be our crashing waves. If you need more white paint at any point, go ahead, obviously. Load up your palette with more white paint. You can see I'm still trying to build up that texture just by kind of dabbing my paintbrush up against the canvas. Once you start to pick up some black on your paintbrush, you might want to stop, give it a little bit of a rinse. I love painting waves. I think it's so kind of fun and expressive, just going in there with lots of paint, just having fun. As I'm getting closer to that black line, I will start to get a little bit of gray, which is fine, but you want to avoid it where you can. Just really loading it up with our paint. Really go for it. We're definitely going over that black line a little bit just to thin it out. Make it more of a shadow, kind of emphasize the action that's going on in our waves. And of course, you want to decide kind of where you want to have some spray, some sea spray. Put that in. Maybe you want to add just a few kind of around where our waves are breaking. Just a little bit of drama. Nice. Now just to get a little bit of color variation going on in here, I'm going to pick up a bit of that darker blue. I'm going to load my brush up with white. So much paint. I'm going to go back in, just add a little bit of that blue into my wave. And that'll really just emphasize kind of the three-dimensional element of this paint. Since we're using so much, it'll really make it look more like churning waters. Nice. All right, let's give our larger brushes a break. Rinse those out. Let's come on back to our starfish. Let's go to our kind of smaller detail brush here. And we're going to go to our yellow. Go ahead, pick up some yellow onto your brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some dots. So kind of all along both sides of our red starfish legs. Go ahead and just very gently dot our paint. Make some of those, little bumps. Adding some more detail. This doesn't have to be perfectly even. Don't stress yourself out. Counting the exact number of dots from one side to the other. I'm just going to have some fun with it. All right. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use that small detail brush again. We're going to pick up some red. And then just kind of along the inside, I'm just going to add some very dainty lines to kind of give a starburst effect right towards the center. Really just painting 5 nice little thin lines near the center of those legs. Really adding a little bit of drama to our starfish. All right. Now, I did mention that we would be using some purple with our starfish, and we have not yet used that purple. I thought it would be fun to use our purple to add a little bit of shading to our starfish, because right now it looks very flat to our sand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wet brush. I'm going to add a little bit of water to my paintbrush, and I'm going to pick up my purple. Just get a nice thinned out little bit of our acrylic paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some shadows. So I'm going to start along the bottom inside here, just getting very close. Just kind of adding my shadows along the bottom inside. And I can kind of pull that shadow down away a bit. And what I can do is I can bring back that sponge and just kind of go back in, get the texture of our sand. Don't disrupt that too much. That's nice. Makes our starfish stand out a little bit more. I'm going to do some more of that. I'm going to get some more of that thin purple. Kind of along inside edges of those starfish legs. Here I'm turning my head at all weird angles when I paint. Pull that color out a little bit. I'm going to take my sponge. And again, go in and just get nice up and close. Kind of building up that texture again. Still want it to look like sand when we're done. We want the purple to be very subtle. And then for the upper area here, I'm really just going to go just along the inside here. That purple. Very close to those legs. Yeah, I want to make sure I don't lose the texture. Nice. All right. I think personally, I want to add a little bit more yellow into my sand here, especially since we got so dark again with the with our purple shadows. So I'm just going to pick up some more yellow onto my sponge and really just kind of carefully blot it out. Again, I'm building up that texture. Turn your sponge kind of this way and that, so you're not getting too many harsh lines. Nice. All right. So we're getting very close to done here. Very close to done. We're just really on to the finishing touches. So if you want to finish the edge of your canvas, something that you can do is you can kind of take that color and wrap it around the edges here. So you can spend a few minutes and paint the areas, kind of the border of your canvas. Now, there's a few different ways to do that. If you want, you can try to match the colors. So you can take our tan color, our blue color, our white colors, and kind of wrap it around the edge. You can choose one solid color if you would like. So if you just want to do a light blue or a light tan, you can do that as well. And of course, you always have the option of finishing your canvas edge in the traditional black, right? So if you want to spend a few minutes and really finish up an edge, you can do so. That does make it look really nice when it's hanging on a wall later. So it's not necessary. I mean, very few people are going to come over to your house and then notice the edge of your canvas and go, this is an unfinished canvas. So by all means, feel free to do that next step. But I thought just something kind of fun to do. We have to sign our work, right? So I thought, people, when they go to the beach, they write their names in the sand. So I thought that could be a fun little way to do this. So if we want to take our smaller detail brushes and our brown paint, our darker brown paint, and you can kind of make your initials over here in this larger area. If you're part of a power couple, you can go ahead and maybe make a heart right? You can do your initials. Very cute. I'm super nerdy. Sorry, in case you guys didn't get that by like all my funny facial features and expressions. Or if you want to have some university pride, right? You can go ahead and do UNCG written in the sand here. Let's see, I'm going to do my own initials. My initials are AS, so go in my sand here. Make my own initials. Do them in the dark color. Blend them out a little bit. That light color. I got a little bit too light though. It's a little hard to read. You know what? I'm a fan of the cheesiness factor. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna paint a heart around mine. I'm just kind of mixing the light and the dark brown shades here. Get a color that stands out but isn't too overpowering. You don't want this to be the entire focus of your painting. Awesome. All right. Well, remember, you still have the option to finish the outside edges of your painting if you like. I'll give you guys a little close up so you can see how my painting turned out. Quite fun with the waves there. Feel free, I would absolutely love to see your artwork on social media, so feel free to share that with me. You can use the hashtag UNCG Paints, hashtag UNCG Paints, to share with me, with your friends, with your college, just kind of what you were able to come up with today. You can tag Lightning Events on Instagram. It's lightning.events on Instagram. And you can find me if you want to share what you painted today with me, or if you have any questions for me, or if you just want to be my friend, because always looking for new friends. At artist_historian on Instagram. Artist_historian on Instagram. That's where I'm at. Again, big thank you to UNCG for putting this together for us. And of course, thank you to Lightning Events. Keep us in mind for any entertainment that you might have going forward. All right, you guys rock. Can't wait to see your art. Until next time. Bye, guys.